You're listening to the After Dark podcast with NT Paranormal. Nothing normal about it.
Hi, everybody.
Brad had to run and go get our notes. I left them. I'm sorry. I apologize to our 4 viewers. Oh, I apologize for that, too.
Oh, my God. Yes. Oh, this is great.
I got a new phone. I don't know how to turn the volume down.
Hey, that means you don't have to charge it and maybe... What the heck are you doing?
Turning the volume down.
Make this happen. Oh, my God.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It's so awesome. I ran my phone all day without having to charge it constantly.
That's
because
amazing.
My other phone, I literally had to carry around.
Maybe this one will keep up with the comments.
No, probably not.
No, I doubt it. Paramount Tech. Good evening, everyone. Hello. Hi. How are you doing? Okay, we're back. So we broadcasted last week, and it was a...
clusterfuck. It was a clusterfuck.
It was a disaster. Okay, so I need to bring that up. So, yeah, last week was a disaster. Our topic wasn't great.
Although I did listen to an entire 2-hour podcast on Amityville today, so...
Was it worse than ours?
No, it was actually really good because it was last podcast on the left.
Okay. No,
and they solved the crime.
I've been having so many different internet problems, and hopefully that is mostly behind me. I've been
behind you
doing some checks and everything, and I mean we're going. Things seem to be going good, stuff like that. But I got a pretty well deserved message.
Who messaged you?
It's another paranormal
What'd they say?
investigator, and they watch our show, and they were really disappointed in our show, and they weren't mean.
No.
I want to clarify, they weren't being mean, but I was having a very bad day when I got it, and I responded to it, but it was kind of disheartening. So the last episode that we did live, I've completely deleted it because I was completely unhappy with it. One of the things he mentioned though was we cuss a lot. That's the one thing out of everything I got I'm not really going to apologize for, because
hey, this isn't a lot. This is us quelling our desires to cuss.
I know. I might try to temper it back a little bit because I get the point. But
what's wrong with cussing?
There's not. But that's what I was going to say is I'm an adult. And that's how I talk. And if you think that makes me less intelligent, that's kind of on you. But
I did see an interesting post today on Facebook that I was super behind. It was cuss words don't hurt anybody. Because it was a meme about how someone was in the car with their kid and they said, "Oh, this song has the F word in it." And the dad's like, "Oh, it's easy as fuck." No, the bad F word. What do you mean the bad F word? The F-A-G, bad word? Mm-hmm. He was like, well, that word hurts people. Fuck doesn't hurt anybody. And I was like, I only have 3 words you can't say in my house.
Yeah.
The F slur, the R slur, and the N slur.
I agree. And I find very intelligent people cuss all the time. It's a good way to block. And we're also entertaining, and we've never really tried to pander to children. I mean, I would like to be a little more child friendly, I guess, but I'm...
Well, then Skid Alley's not on.
Yeah, I know.
Or Catherine.
Greetings from Monterrey, Mexico. Hola. How
Yo.
are you doing? That was my best Spanish.
Please don't even attempt.
It's the extent
You're a shame
of
to all of us.
No, he brought up some really good points. So first off, he was disappointed that we were leaning towards true crime.
Oh, but I love true crime.
Well, okay, my answer for that was, and I'm just addressing this I already told him this, and he wasn't pissed, and like I said, the dude wasn't, but I felt
we do welcome constructive criticism.
It's one of the first times I've got criticism,
truly constructive criticism.
It was actually kind of constructive,
yeah.
And he said, I wasn't trying to upset you. He's like, I like your show, I respect what you guys do, but these are things I think is problematic. And, you might have younger investigators that watch your show and things like that. And I was like, okay, I'll take these things into consideration. So the cussing was the one thing. And so I got that out of the way. I'm not going to stop cussing. Sorry, buddy.
We will try and quell it a little bit.
But I'll try to quell it a little bit because, I get what he's saying is people won't take you seriously if you talk like that.
People still think it correlates to low intelligence. I don't think that's true.
It's like tattoos. And the thing is the generation has changed. This is somebody that's another
Gen Z cusses even more. Be around my kids for 5 minutes and you'll see.
We're different. Like you can go get like a CEO job and be covered in tattoos. It's just the world is changing. The way we talk, the way we look.
Piercings are another one, or dyed hair.
Yeah. And I have all these things.
Your hair isn't dyed right now.
Not right now.
Although I want to do mine purple again.
The other thing he brought up was he's like, oh, it looks like you guys are doing more true crime, which is disappointing because it wasn't that he was disappointed we were doing true crime. It was that we weren't doing more paranormal topics because he said he has a hard time finding podcasts that seriously cover paranormal topics like the way we do.
He should send us some topics.
That's kind of what I was getting at. I said, look, we've never been just a paranormal podcast. We have been more of a science.
We're more of a, what did you think of today that might be halfway interesting?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that.
But we're more of like a science, like analytical podcast with a little bit of humor, but what we explore is dark topics. We just happen to be a paranormal group that does paranormal research.
I do prefer, like, just because everyone else does true crime.
Yeah.
I prefer when we do paranormal topics. I just feel like we're scraping the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, that was my point. Is there's only so many
well, there's probably a billion we just aren't thinking of.
Well, it's that, and then when we're covering it, the point that I brought up is all the groups that are out there, or at least all the ones that make enough media you can read about it, they're all doing the same exact experiments and getting the same exact results that are completely not valid to anything that we're doing. So, it gets really hard to cover EVPs for the 306th time when we're the only ones doing frequency analysis. It gets really hard to cover orb photos.
When they're bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, bad word.
Yeah. When, it's...
God, I need to get out of that habit. It has just gotten really bad.
Yeah. And I think the isolation of COVID, that's the other thing I brought up. I was like, look, we haven't done this in a while. We are way out of practice.
Yeah. If we had more hunts, we'd have some, maybe after Tyler.
No, I was talking about the podcast.
Well,
like we were out of...
And I'm too thinking like when we start doing more investigations, we will have more paranormal stuff to talk about.
Hey, did you tag Emilio and all the people that,
no.
you might want to go through and do that. While I'm droning on about what we did wrong.
Yeah,
with
it's
the last
Emilio
podcast.
and Mina.
But yeah, so it gets hard to cover legit paranormal topics every single episode because there's only so much. We've covered everything that there is to. We're going to be rehashing and looking at things from a new light. We're always going to want to talk about it, but we try to like branch out and cover more stuff. And I like the true crime stuff because I'm looking at it from the angle of we're covering investigation. Mm-hmm. In any type of legitimate investigation, especially like forensic investigation, like that side of it, that pertains to what we're doing. If you can't be a good investigator in your everyday life, I don't think you can be a good paranormal investigator because you can't use logic properly. Forget the science part of it, but if you can't put
forget the science part of it.
Sorry. Yeah. So that kind of led me down a path that made me think about what I wanted to talk about this episode. And
boring stuff.
Well, no, I wanted to be kind of a reintroduction since we're kind of coming back, and B, talk about how we investigate paranormal things using science as opposed to just going out and doing the same thing everybody else does to kind of just as like thrill seekers in like what the value of it is and all that stuff. Too.
We are, or at least I am.
I think everybody is. If you didn't, okay, we don't get paid for it. So if you didn't like doing it, then why would you do it? You know what I mean? If your only motivation for something is to make like a career out of it and make money off of it, then it's probably not something you actually like doing. There were some other things that were kind of brought up. The other thing he pointed out was that I seemed like almost like I liked the serial killer, and I just wanted to clarify. I was joking. the dude's a freaking monster. Where I was trying to go, one of the problems is our internet was cutting out so bad. So just as I was trying to get serious and make a point every time, that's when the internet would cut out for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I would just lose my train of thought what we were talking about. And just to clarify, what I was starting with a joke into a segue, and what I was trying to get into was the psychology of.
Are we talking about DeFeo?
Yeah. And the point I was.
No, terrible serial killer.
Well,
spree killer.
He was a spree killer. But the point I was going to make was like these people that are clearly monsters aren't monsters. They're people that have issues. And when you like peel back all the layers, I think people are. It's like they said.
They're people.
Well, it's like they said in Seven. You know, once you figure out who this is, if it's not the devil himself, you're going to be really upset.
Because I was listening to that podcast and they were like, oh, all these serial killers start out as like normal kid. No, they don't. They're not human from the jump, like the real one. Anyway, aside from the point. But anyway, not people, monsters.
Hey, Nina, how's it going?
My comments are not showing up at all.
Oh, hey, there's a few of them here.
Talking of true crime, if a true crime investigator had gone into the Amityville case, how would it have held up at the time he claimed that the devil made him do it?
Well, at the time he claimed the devil...
demon had. Because I just listened to that podcast. He claimed a demon because he was watching some movie where someone like murders their family. He claimed a demon came and talked to him with like black hands or something. And they did investigate it.
Yeah, I mean, it would have turned out the same way it did, that he ended up behind bars.
Although the point was raised that it did look like it was a coordinated attack by multiple people, and that's why they were all found face down, because it happened in such rapid succession, and there was evidence that more than one type of gun was used.
Yeah, and that's kind of the stuff I was getting into when we were talking about it initially, about what I thought was interesting about the case. And I think I said at the beginning too, I was like, cool isn't the right terminology for this, but I'm going to frequently say this is what I think is cool about it. So I think there was a disconnect there, and I think the fact that the connection was so bad, but I just didn't want anybody to think that like I sympathize with serial killer. I mean, I do, to the point that I have mental illness, they have mental illness, but it's not. I don't think it's an excuse, and I don't think what they're doing is cool. I think investigations and forensics and history are
cool. Like I listened to last podcast on the left, and there are a bunch of stand-up comedians that do true crime, conspiracy, and paranormal. And I was listening to an episode about Joseph Mengele.
Yes.
But it was hysterical. And someone asked what podcast I was listening to, and I couldn't say a comedy podcast about Joseph Mengele because it makes you sound like a freaking monster.
Yeah. And it's all about context. And this person that was, I was about to say grilling me, but I wasn't getting grilled. This is somebody that does objective paranormal research.
No, I wish we got more constructive criticism.
Yeah. And I understand his disappointment, because so
I was disappointed in the last podcast.
I was too.
I'm disappointed in all our podcasts.
But I think there's a disconnect between our podcast and our investigations, because when we go in and we set our minds to, hey, we're investigating this place, we're very serious about like our methodology and how we do it and what we're setting up. But then we come in here and we try to have a sense of humor about all that stuff. And I feel like there was a disconnect there, because he tries to go in and do these very objective investigations the way we're doing. And I think he was disappointed, because he's like, oh, these are people that are interested in the same thing I am. I want to hear their point of view. And he didn't get that. And so that's what this episode will be about when we get into it.
Julie says, no, if someone's science-based like you investigated, but I mean, they did have like forensic.
Oh, yeah.
They did an entire investigation.
A forensic pathology, and then they had a psychologist.
And people have done true crime books about it.
Yeah.
Just focusing on the
everything before
killing,
the Lutzes and everything.
Not the craziness.
Yeah.
And basically, that guy was not even insane. He was hopped up on not just heroin, but cocaine, and he was dropping a bunch of acid at the time.
DeFeo?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was bombed out of his gourd.
Yeah, one of the reasons I think his story changed so much is I don't even think he knows exactly what happened.
I think he was too high to know what was going on.
I think he had planned it and had plans and, but I think to get up the nerve to do it, and eventually we'll cover the case again.
Emilio, you know that thing where they'll pull one phrase of something you said out? Serial killers are cool, Ashton Rogers.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah,
I love it when people just pull one
It's going to be on my fucking headstone.
Good.
Serial killers
I'll carve
cool.
it in there with a screwdriver and a hammer.
It's like they used to do on the Russ Martin show. They'd try to catch each other doing sound bites or whatever so they could play it later and be like, no, and try to talk over it. Yeah. But yeah, I think to do the murders and everything that he'd planned, like he was like, I'm gonna do a whole bunch of,
well, he was also an addict.
Yeah, there was a lot going on. So anyway, today's topic is
boring,
paranormal. Period. It's not like a case. It's not anything like that. What I wanted to do was talk about how our group works, kind of our methodology and all that. And I actually, I pulled our questions, basically out of what he was saying and some other stuff that we've got over the years or whatever.
But the list of boring stuff. No serial killing at all.
No.
Sad.
But I think the history of a place has a lot to do with a paranormal investigation too.
Ghosts aren't real.
I
was kidding. That was a joke. Calm down.
But it's still there for comparison. When you find correlations, it's part of the data. Is that okay?
I just picking on you.
Okay, so one of the other thing that brought this up is I'm basically doing this topic in Tyler next month too. So this is kind of a rehash of all that.
And leaving me behind, even though you knew I had
You're
plans.
going to Pedernales to stay drunk for 3 days.
I'm not going to drink. I'm going to go hiking in the sun, and drinking and hiking is not a good combination.
I think it's the best combination.
And then I'm going to Arkansas the weekend after it. And someone recommended a haunted hotel to stay at, so I'm going to do that without you since you're going to Tyler without me.
Okay, well, be sure to take some equipment with you.
No.
I'll pack you a care bag. What? No. You suck. No,
wait. Emilio said no serial killer got ya. I'm building quite the NTPI quote book this episode.
Okay. So we often say we practice objective, controlled research of paranormal claims and events. But what does that mean? So I'm the one that normally yammers on about this. I want to hear your perspective on it.
What was the question?
We practice objective, controlled research of paranormal claims and events, but what does that mean? So describe what we mean when we say objective research.
It means we go in and actually look at stuff that's there. We're not really hunting for ghosts.
We are, but we're not.
Eli's not. I am objective.
No, I don't know. Are you? Do you really consider yourself one of the more? If we had to rank it from 1 to 10, and we took all, and let's talk about the other people that are in our group that aren't here too. But if you had to rank everybody from most objective to least objective,
it would depend on the situation. I think it depends on the place we're going. Like if we're going to Kyle,
I can't be objective.
I can't be objective. If we're going, if I've had a bad day, I'm probably not going to be the most objective. But I think if we're on a good day, I think we're all pretty objective.
Yeah, I can get that. Honestly, I think Kristen is probably the most objective in our group. Like she seems the most disconnected from it because objective to me means taking yourself out of the equation of what's happening. I'm not saying. Like we're doing better about logging our emotions and stuff like that. I'm not sure
if being the most bored correlates to being the most objective. Because when something did happen, she freaked out. The bathroom at the Arlington Center.
Oh, that is true. Yeah, she did do the complete mind scramble thing.
I think.
But I think she was more worried that she had broke think my camera.
I think it is almost impossible to maintain a state of being objective when your brain is screaming that you could be in physical danger.
And I agree with that. So, which kind of leads me into like what I was going to say. With us being objective, we rely on tests to tell us information rather than what we think we see or we think we hear.
That's what I'm saying, and we're not hunting for ghosts. We're hunting for everything around it. We're not looking to take pictures of ghosts. We're looking to take pictures of where everything is.
Right, yeah, to document the environment.
And Paramount Tech says looking for environmental fingerprint. Like stuff like that.
Exactly. So, like, since we don't know what ghosts or spirits or paranormal entities are, how could you measure something you don't know what it is? It'd be like not knowing the makeup of water and then saying, well, how much hydrogen is in it? And somebody be like, it's water, not hydrogen. Like, there's no correlation there. So since we don't know what the physical makeup of these events are, all we can do is we can measure different parts of the environment to see if they're changing. So, and the ones everybody is super familiar with is electromagnetic fields. Yeah, everybody's like, oh, it's EMFs.
Emilio says looking for environmental phenomenon that correlates to unexplained happenings.
See, I like the people that actually follow us. Like they're on board. They get it. You know, it's what you're doing is you're going in, you're conducting investigation.
I'm pretty sure Emilio's just saying words.
Just words. He's like, I saw this in a science book. Emilio.
Now we're just going to say things he didn't even say.
Yeah.
We're building a book on you, too.
Yeah, I'm watching you. Hey, man, we haven't had any drops. Go Spectrum. That's good.
Don't say, oh, my God. You just jinxed us. Thanks for watching.
So to me, I put a few notes because I couldn't remember everything because I got a whole list of questions here. So when we're talking about being objective, though, we're talking about measuring different things in the environment, using controls, eliminating outside factors that could influence those things.
Which you can only do so much on a ghost
Well, in the
hunt.
field. So there's two different types of investigations that we can do. There are field investigations and then there's lab studies, which I don't know any other groups that try to do any type of labs, like reproduce results.
I'm not sure that's a mark against them. It's much like us. When do we have the chance to?
Well, when do we have the time? Who has the resources for that? I mean, we don't have the time and resources to do that either. We have plans to do a lot of this lab research.
The only groups that would have the stuff to do that, like the big groups that make money off this, aren't interested in it.
No, they're interested in being on TV, and that's not
which
to
I
say,
get, no shade.
It's not to say that we don't do labs. It's just I do a lot of those labs when I'm engineering the experiments and things like that.
Well, and the closest thing we can get to an controlled environment is inside one of our houses.
Right. Eventually, like if you ask me, like the money's no object, where would you like to investigate? Question. It's, if money's no object, what I would like to do is purchase or rent a building where I can create a controlled environment to do labs and then use all that extra money to have people come in to do surveys and stuff like that. Like I would love to do like group studies.
I have that one I've always wanted to do. That I did at my house for a little while where I take one group in and I tell them a ghost story and just count how many of the people.
Yeah, like a double blind sort of thing.
Bring another group in and tell them nothing.
Yeah,
or tell them a lie.
I would love to do that, and I think this year we might, like through mid-year, get to a point where we can do some of that. I don't know that we can like take them through, but we might be able to do some of the survey work and stuff like that. Like show them evidence, ask them questions about it, get some of that hard data that we've been needing to find that kind of correlates with some of the stuff that we're doing.
Julie has a question. How much was Ghostbusters influenced you on lab studies or the entity? I've never seen the entity.
Oh, I need to show you that one. That one's interesting because that's based on a real study. So the funny thing about Ghostbusters is that has influenced all of
because the EMFs.
Yeah, that is what started the whole EMF thing. Even with Hans Holzer was like one of the original. He's one of the original like paranormal investigators that would go. There's a show about it called the Holzer Files, and then you have Konstantin Radave, who was doing the first EVPs and stuff like that, but nobody was doing anything with EMFs. And then Ghostbusters came out in the 80s.
I want this meter that goes.
Yeah. They had the EKG meter, which was the
EKGs.
No, it was a
medical thing.
In the show, it was a PKG. It was a psychokinetic energy, PKE meter. And so somebody saw that.
It's so ridiculous. I love it.
I know. It was like, oh, it's a ghost detector. And then somebody saw that and said, oh, that reminds me of my EMF detector. Probably
like a real life electrician. Yeah.
Yeah. And he was like, hey, check this out. I can make
this is a Ghost Finder. Buy it.
Yeah.
It's $100.
It kind of and then people started using it. And now correlation is not causation, but in a lot of paranormal cases, they were seeing shit high levels of EMF. In bursts, and but it was a bunch of people that aren't experts in how none of them were engineers or anything, so they were like, okay, EMFs are ghosts or whatever. And then it went a little bit further, and then it turned out, hey, EMFs affect your brainwave activity, blah, so there's different ways you can go with it, so it's still relevant. But that directly came from Dan Aykroyd, and it's like, holy crap, it's life imitates art sort of thing. This is like science, pseudoscience imitating art, I guess.
And a reminder, what we do is completely pseudoscience.
The thing from the entity I always thought was interesting, and this happened in the movie but not in real life, but spoiler, at the end of the movie they decide this did kind of influence my thinking a little bit in that you can physically measure a ghost or an entity. But the scientist, the real guy that was working on that in the movie, says, okay, if this thing can push you and attack you or whatever, it has some kind of physical form, which means we could catch it, right? And so he designs a replica of the lady's house that's being attacked inside of like a lab setting. And there's like one safe room in there, and then there's liquid nitrogen.
You've told me about that.
Yeah. And he's like, when you start getting attacked, go into the safe room, and we'll hit the liquid nitrogen, and we can freeze it or whatever. And this part didn't happen in real life, but I thought it was a really cool gimmick for the movie, and I was like, no, logically the science is sound there. If something can physically manipulate things in the physical world, then it's made up
mass,
of
things,
some kind of mass. I mean, you can freeze light in an excited, you can freeze photons in an excited state. So if you can do that, you should be able to freeze a ghost.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah, I guess it influenced me in the way that I thought, no, we can apply mechanical science and logic to these things, and that makes it more real for me, more exciting, rather than just getting like random words and stuff back. So it influenced me.
Sorry, I just thought it was a good question.
No, I thought it's a good question too, and that's why we do it live, so that way we get the question in and we
do it live.
We don't count emotions or experiences as hard evidence.
We have started counting them because we used to be in all-out denial that was a factor.
We use it as a factor of correlation to the data. So, like, if we feel creeped out or something like that, then we look at what's going on in the environment at the time and see if there's something that either causes those emotions or if...
We also use it as a self-check. Well, I'm feeling particularly anxious today, so I might not be the most reliable, or I might be the best person to use if we're doing an isolation experiment because I'm already feeling anxious.
Right, because it's so weird to say, but we're also testing these theories about, like, well, are spirits attracted to emotional energy? Well, the only way to find out is somebody's got to get emotional and have emotional energy and then see if things happen. But then you have to answer the question.
This started with you and my dad, who goes on ghost hunts with us sometimes, scaring me and trying to think of a rational reason why that's okay. That's all this. This is a complete BS way for y'all to explain that away. That y'all are monsters.
It is true. And I've been called out.
How can I make this science?
You know what? I don't mind being called out by other
Take
people
mean and
about
make it
doing
science.
something wrong. I do mind getting called out by other paranormal groups telling us we're doing something wrong or is invalid, because you hunt ghosts. You're not better than me. You buy stuff that's marketed to hunt ghosts. So your opinion doesn't count. Sorry. Not any more than mine. So if I want
Level playing field.
Yeah, if we want to go scare each other sometimes and have fun because we spend 8 to 12 hours locked in an empty abandoned building without a toilet, that's my business. You mind your business.
So you do ramp someone up as an experiment, Julie said. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes not, but yeah, that became a thing we do, working off the theory that either A, ghosts are attracted to emotions. B, my theory is that, of course, heightened emotions make you more likely to see things that aren't there. And crap, I had another one.
Or C,
or you're causing it with your, like the idea of a poltergeist.
Right, yeah.
And the difference is can you document what's going on? Because if I start seeing stuff but no one can document it, then it's your emotions.
It's your emotions causing it, a psychosis.
But if you can repeatedly document more,
but if you get
activity,
emotional in it, and the door is, we're recording it slamming over and over only when you get emotional.
And if you start getting more evidence when people are emotional and you do that repeatedly, then it could correlate to that causing ghosts.
Okay. So it might help to bring this up. So we classified, I'm not going to call it a haunting. We classified the types of activity that we encounter.
Oh my God, I'm so itchy and covered in cardboard dust.
That's
I'm sorry, people.
It's paranormal itching.
I've been at work all day and we were breaking down boxes and there was cardboard dust everywhere, and I'm.
So we categorize paranormal activity. So if we're talking about, so first off, there's supernatural activity and natural activity, and hopefully over the course of
Natural activity is like what, wind? What?
Like cryptids. So cryptozoology, it would be something physical that exists, blah, blah, blah. Hopefully the goal of our study is to, if we find something supernatural, eventually it'll become part of
It's
natural.
like the difference between I saw a shadow figure that walked through a wall and I saw a shadow figure that bumped into the wall and bounced back.
Right. The natural occurrences would be aliens and cryptids.
Skinwalkers.
And then yeah, that sort of things. I don't know. Some of them kind of blur lines and have feet in both camps, I guess.
Like skinwalkers.
Yes, like skinwalkers. Supernatural would be things that seem to be like more interdimensional or have no rational explanation for it. Like if you saw an alien and the rational explanation is it comes from another planet, you know. So there's that, and then all that stuff gets further classified. So you have
what? Sorry, Emilio says nature activity is wind. Supernatural is a hurricane.
supernatural.
Supernatural. That wasn't natural. That was supernatural. It was an F5.
It's the Fujita scale. He says it.
We should do something like that for ghosts. That shadow figure, it was an F5.
Ghostbusters has that too. They're like, that's a class 3 roaming vapor.
Ghost Hunters does that too. Ghost Adventures, that's a class A EVP. What does that mean?
No one knows. Absolutely no one but him
Start
knows.
saying that after. This was a class C plus EV. What?
It's a level 3 full roaming vapor. So we have poltergeist activity, which means that it's not a ghost at all.
Which means there's bodies buried under your house.
No.
And they're
the movie
here.
Gets it wrong. Poltergeist activity
really?
is
The fake movie gets it wrong. Oh no.
Poltergeist activity is caused by a living person.
How dare them misrepresent themselves. Poltergeist activity, though, in the general population is just used to mean a ghost that throws stuff. that physically interacts with its
Right.
environment. Well, you're talking about, I have a 13-year-old hormonal child and they're causing doors to slam.
Right. Using the power of their
Cussing
minds.
minus.
So yeah. God, we can't get very far at all. You derail me so much.
I'm so sorry.
Derailed.
Oh, we need one of those sound effects things when you push it. Derailed.
Bang, 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 bang.
Derailed. Did I do it again?
Poltergeist activity is caused by the living. You have residual. What is a what would be a residual haunting?
A repeating haunting that doesn't interact. So someone was murdered here, and every night at 3 a.m. they reenact the murder.
Okay.
I might get EVPs, but it's saying the same thing over and over and has no correlation with the questions I'm asking.
What would be an intelligent haunting?
I ask it a question and it comes up with a response.
Okay, and then what would be an inhuman haunting?
Demons.
No, it would be inhuman because you know how. Okay, yeah, it would be.
It scratched me. There's 3 marks. It's mocking the Trinity. Why is that always it?
I don't know. That's because people.
Demons can't count, stupid.
What is okay? I'm on to the second question on this list of
Lame, boring things.
frequently asked questions. What's the value of scientific investigation into paranormal events?
There isn't any.
You're not very helpful, and I'm about to fire you.
Go ahead.
To
You
you,
can't fire me. I quit.
to you, what seriously? What is the value of a scientific approach? And you know what? To be honest, I'm the one that kind of made us do it that
Yes,
way.
absolutely. We were having far more fun before you joined in on
I
this.
know.
We were just trespassing on private property and
So I'm-
sneaking into abandoned buildings.
So I wonder if there is. Am I the only one that actually values it, or is this something that you guys have accepted as like this is something that is actually important?
You know, we went with no cameras, and then you brought along things that record evidence of us committing crimes. Demons can only count to 6 3 times. What was the question?
What's the value of a scientific investigation versus what other groups do?
Well, first off, like in the case of the family that had been scared out of their home, I feel like doing it the way we does it, the way we does it, can
The way we does
can make people feel better.
PP.
It can like comfort people. The value of doing it scientifically, it's people can't call us on stuff. And, you know, just personally, it proves it to me more when something does happen.
Yeah, I think it holds more weight over just having an experience.
Trespassing tickets are cheaper than most paid location. That is factually accurate.
Yes,
And most of the times, like the only time a cop's come out, they've been like, "Oh, awesome! You should go to this place."
that is true. Don't trespass, people.
Oh yeah, Emilio says I do not condone trespassing, but think financially smart.
Emilio thinks trespassing is financially smart. Emilio Garcia.
Yes, I agree.
No, I think it holds more weight because when you're having a discussion about this sort of thing,
and Paramount Tech just said no value would mean no validity.
right? And I'm not saying that everybody that wants to research the paranormal or wants to have an experience has to do it the way we do it. It's not wrong to go out just with an EMF detector and have an experience. But I think what gets me is people that do the things
And
that
then
they see
call
on
it
TV,
science.
and then they either A, call it science, or B, call it fact, which is I can kind of forgive you for not understanding that it's pseudoscience. I can't forgive you for calling non-facts facts or not taking any alternate explanations into consideration, especially when they're really simple.
Well, and it's frustrating to me because people like call us on stuff like, "Oh, blah blah blah, your episode was boring. I did this and I had so much activity." But
But how do you
it's
how do
more
you know?
entertaining. But I don't believe anything you're saying.
Yeah, it's there's no weight or validity to it.
At some point, this field is trying to become a legitimate science, and that's the crux of the matter is I would like to see the entire field pushed into a more scientific direction.
Well, and unless that happens, you're never going to get the actual answer. And so, I mean...
And the answer might be everyone's full of shit, and that's fine. I'd like to know that answer.
Yeah, I'm the person that wants to know the ending to it. Like, if you think aliens built the pyramids, right, okay, which is absolutely ridiculous, right? But you think aliens built the pyramids, right? Unless you use actual science to get to that answer, you're never going to really get to that answer. Maybe aliens did build the pyramids, and I'm the asshole.
No.
Maybe that's a thing. Maybe somebody can go test the radioactivity of all the bricks that built the pyramids and find alien DNA on it or something like that. But they used real science to figure it out. And then I'm the jerk off.
Yeah, but they'd have to take a scientific
but they would
approach.
have to take that step, and they would have to take it seriously enough to not just throw. We live in an age where you can just throw whatever BS you want on YouTube. The world's flat. The world's always been flat.
False facts have become a thing. It's just people just saying things are fact, like putting the word fact after a statement makes it so.
Or you had a discussion today at work. They said, "Oh, it was on Amazon."
Oh yeah, I was at work and these two dudes. I didn't engage in the conversation. I was just
you were objectively investigating this conversation.
And one dude says the other dude, it happened on Ghost Adventure. I didn't hear what they were talking about first. And the other dude says, "Oh yeah, like Ghost Adventures is true." And the other guy goes, "It's on Amazon. It's true." And I wanted to be like, I have a show on Amazon. You can put anything on Amazon, right?
That is true. That is absolutely true.
I have a problem with scanning frequencies producing valid EVP. You mean like in the case of the stupid spirit box thingy?
Oh yeah, I hate like the.
Can you expound on your statement there, Paramount Tech?
Yeah, because I want to. I think I know what you're talking about, but I want to go into greater detail on that.
I'm stupid and I have no clue.
Scanning frequencies. Yeah, I think what he's talking about is like Frank's boxes, Spirits, SB7, stuff like that.
The thing I hate.
Yeah, and there's ways to more validate that.
He said yes, that's what he means.
Okay, so that's an experiment that we do, and we do it like 4 different ways. Like we do it the way it comes out of the box, and
I did get on the detune one. Me and my dad at the Hood County Jailhouse got a word over it.
Right. And it's the only word that has ever come out of that unit, ever.
We'd also have to go through a whole debunking process with someone using a transmitter somewhere near, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So, just using it straight out of the box where it actually receives all of the radio waves and all that stuff. Yeah, you get radio stations and all that stuff, and people don't understand how burst transmission operates. And we've harped on that.
Yeah, where you get 96.7 on 96.6 and 96.8.
Yeah. So scanning through all the frequencies, like they like to throw that out in the show, like that adds some kind of scientific validity to it. But it actually almost takes away some scientific validity because
then you also know they don't understand how radios work.
Exactly.
Catherine says people have been trying to do it in a sciencey way, like the Nazis. But until we get sacrificial humans to cooperate, we can't prove anything. Isn't just a house shifting or animals. Hello, that's kind of true. You would have to like set up the entire murder, unless you're me and you don't think ghosts are people or ever were people.
Yeah. So to test if ghosts are people, you have to do like 1,000 flatliners experiments. That's what you have to do. You have to kill them. See if you can
flatliners.
Kill them.
Yes.
See if you can get a message while they're dead, and then bring them back, and then find out what message did you transmit while you were in ghostly form? And it would have to all correlate.
I'll play Kevin Bacon.
I want to be Elliot Page.
Okay.
I got it right.
Was he in the remake?
Yeah.
Oh, God. I think I watched... Did we watch the remake?
Yeah, it was good. Everybody hates it. I think it was great. It was great. It was cinematic
I guess I found it unmemorable.
What is the main question that we're trying to answer with our studies?
Are there ghosts?
I think it's an oversimplification of it. For me, yeah.
So?
It's not just are there ghosts, but if there is ghosts, and we're just using ghosts as a general term for paranormal activity, what is the mechanic by which it works? Like,
I am very curious about that. What can choose to walk on the floor and not fall through the ground, but can also walk through walls?
So we talk about these residual hauntings where it's like a replay. You know, it's the same space and time.
Remember the movie Ghost Dad?
Yeah.
How sometimes he'd just fall through the ground.
Yeah.
Sorry, go.
And where was he going? Was that because gravity?
Bill Cosby was going to hell for being a rapist. Sorry. Not just ghosts, but paranormal activity in general. Yeah. Residual hauntings. I derailed again.
Okay, so it repeats in the same physical space over and over, and they're like, oh, it walks through the wall because there used to be a door there, right? Well, here's the thing: if you understand how our planet rotates and moves through space
there,
yeah, where that thing happened is somewhere else, completely different in the universe. There's just blank space. That's why time travel doesn't actually work. If you only move in time, but you don't move in space as well, you end up in the vacuum of space at some point in time, and it's really inconvenient.
What meme did I see where a guy had like gone back in the past with a time machine and he just wound up in space? Oh no.
I don't know, but that's the most accurate thing I've ever seen.
It was probably XKCD.
I did a podcast on time travel. It's like it's one of our better ones. I'm kind of proud of it, but I did the math.
Were you the only one on it?
Yeah.
You're only proud of the ones you do by yourself because no one's here to call you an idiot.
It's true. And
you're just unchecked and wild.
No, I think the main question we're trying to answer is, A, is it a psychological thing? B,
Yes.
if it's real,
It's not.
what is it?
Look, I have all the answers already.
And C, no, what you have is the hypothesis that goes along with our experiments. Yeah.
I have the theory. The law.
I'll just move on to the next question. Break down our process to its basics. What's different from a non-scientific investigation?
I really need science to prove multiple dimensions already. It basically already has.
Mathematically, it's certain.
Yeah.
Shit, somebody broke down I gotta watch my language. So somebody mathematically
Foul mouth.
broke down the certainty that we are living in a simulation, which would explain everything. Everything we've ever talked about, it would explain that.
How can one open an interdimensional doorway for communication? Objective. There is that chick that was doing that experiment with throwing burst sound at a wall to try and open the portal to the upside down.
Oh yeah. It was oh God, you're digging into the very, very back part of my brain.
It wasn't an American name.
But yeah, it was focused sound waves, concentrated, and I think
Which would like really bind to the infrasound thing.
That's what I was just about to say. Is I think she was getting the best results with infrasound, things that resonate below 20 hertz, where moving matter in a way that can't be moved through other means.
But she had done this thing where she was firing photons and like taking pictures of them, and she was noticing that
not all of them were coming back.
Yeah, they were
at the
disappearing, which can't happen.
Yeah, she would send like 4 photons in, but only 3 would come back.
And so she hypothesized that they were going to an alternate dimension.
But see, she's got that debunking phase she's got to go through too. So if you shoot 4 photons at something, only get 3 back, you can't just assume that one of them just completely disappeared. You have to account for, okay, did it bounce back in a direction?
Well, but she was taking pictures of it with that femto camera thing.
Mm-hmm.
So she knew exactly what was happening, and they were just poofing.
That is awesome.
I don't understand what Catherine just said. And isn't infrasound where ghost voices
I love Catherine so much.
We do.
No,
she's our favorite.
We haven't captured any EVPs in the infrasound range. So, but infrasound is sound that's below 20 hertz. It's below what your ears can.
It's also
hear.
I know not everyone knows this. It's the brown note.
which once again we're back to the Nazis.
Infrasound vibrates your eardrum and at certain frequencies the vitreous humor in your eyes, causing you to see shadow figures. And the interesting way they discovered that is a guy was working in a lab. He was doing something with a sword, and he noticed that he was seeing shadow figures. And it turns out when the AC turned on, it was vibrating this sword and causing infrasound. And he just noticed he was scared in the lab all the time. He was freaked out. He was seeing stuff. And so it wasn't like they were doing an experiment on infra. I love stories like that where they're doing something and something else happens.
That's specifically sounds between 15 and 17 hertz or what will typically vibrate your eyeballs.
Which used to be really rare, but now it's everywhere.
But infrasound will still vibrate the bones in your ear, and that sends a signal to your brain saying, hey, there's sounds going on, but you can't hear it. And so your amygdala goes, hey, something's wrong. There's like someone in the room, you need to do something, but there's no sound. So you just lose your S. And you're seeing shadows and you feel like somebody's watching you. It makes you paranoid. It makes you physically sick. There's a lot of things it does. And as technology has moved forward and we're
just pumping it into the environment.
Oh, it's everywhere. You can't go anywhere without a level of infrasound constantly in the background. And we have new ways to measure it now, which is really interesting. And in the places that we get the most activity, the little bit of correlation and data that we've got, those places have been just saturated with high levels of constant infrasound. And it's just, I find it really interesting. And so it's easy to say that, okay, infrasound causes you to be paranoid and you think you're experiencing paranormal activity, but even the places where we capture the most objective stuff, those places are saturated with more infrasound.
And we wonder why people need so many anxiety meds. Well, I mean, and the modern world is just terrible trash.
Oh yeah. We're slowly just spiraling down the drain as a planet.
Slowly, rapidly, more rapidly every day.
Breaking down our process to its basics is we do an interview. We do a walkthrough sort of investigation. So it's not a paranormal investigation. We listen to what people say happened to them, and then we go into their attic. We check things out. We test the wiring in their walls. We set out live traps for squirrels. Catherine said the song "I Always Feel Like Somebody's Watching Me" is about infrasound. Little known fact. And Paramount Texas, are not photons converted into electrons if it smashes into a specific type of heavy atom? He just went way above my head. Are not photons converted into electrons if... Yes, photons can convert into electrons if if their polarity changes. God damn, this is a deep physics question. Where
you feel smart?
No,
you're making Ashton feel very smart right
now. No. I feel like an idiot because I don't remember exactly. I feel like I need to go research. But yes, I know smashing photons, atoms, and all manner of different energy particles turns them into other things.
It's alchemy. Amelia says, because his cat said ghosts live in infrasound, so it's technically possession. That will be $100 for my services.
Emilio Garcia charges $100 for his services.
Quantum mechanics. Yes, quantum mechanics. No ghosts, ghost voices.
Quantum mechanics is always tricky because it doesn't...
Oh, is it? Is it tricky?
It doesn't mesh with regular... Physics is big things. Quantum physics is very, very, very small subatomic things. And then when they try to mesh together, they don't.
Just read the book Timeline by Michael Crichton and it'll explain it all. Just kidding. The first half of that book is... nothing but I was reading that book. I was like, why am I getting a class on quantum mechanics? This is terrible.
What experiments do? So and then we do a walkthrough. We do like a daytime regular investigation or whatever. Try to explain as much stuff as humanly possible.
Take pictures of where things are, of where they're sitting.
Document all that stuff because we want to knock out as much stuff off of that list as humanly possible so that we're only focusing on the things that could actually be paranormal. Because if we just lump everything to get, because the problem is and my theory has always been is like, say you are having a real paranormal event, but then every bang and creak and thing that you
it's
hear,
suddenly paranormal. Yeah,
all of a sudden everything gets like thrown into the same bucket, and people think you're just a basket case, and that's what makes people want to move out of their house because they're like, all this stuff is happening. But once you start peeling away like all those layers, and if you get it narrowed down to just like the two things that are actually unexplainable, a lot of people feel like, oh, well, that's not that bad. I can live here. What?
Julie said, great name for a band, Smashing Photons. Catherine said, I feel like Talk Nerdy to Me would be sung by them, but in like the style of 90s alternative rock.
That sounds legit.
Too legit to quit. Sorry, I apologize.
We usually do an investigation, which is daytime and nighttime. We do both. What people see on
this
the
is
show.
the question. Why do you investigate at night? Because there's less people.
There's less people. It's more convenient for us. It's quieter. We can do light experiments.
And we all
without
have
light
day
contamination.
jobs. I have children.
There's a million reasons, but we also do stuff during the day, and we actually
We've
get better
got our best evidence during the day.
during the day. Yeah.
And when I thought I was living in a haunted house when I was 16, most of the stuff that happened during the day.
And then we follow up with a history. We do, okay, so I always see and maybe they do it this way too, and maybe it's the trick of editing, but I do our history after we've done the investigation because I don't want that contaminating what we know. And if I do a history beforehand, some of us don't know about it.
Well, because something we do that I don't think a lot of other groups do is we treat our own group like a case study. So Ashton and Allie will know the history, and me and Kristen won't. Or me and Ashton will know the story, but Allie, we always make sure someone is there who doesn't know the history.
Anything about it or whatever. And I try to do the history after the investigation. A lot of times I do need to do it ahead of time because that way it makes it to where I can ask more relevant questions or check certain things.
EVP questions become really repetitive and boring if you don't know anything about the location. So frequently, I need to know the history, and Ashton needs to know the history. Allie doesn't really need it to do what she does.
No,
Kristen doesn't often need it.
Because mostly what they're looking for is physical evidence.
Kristen gets it a lot because she usually ends up being the person who can go with you to set up, like if me and Allie are at work or something. Mm-hmm. But I feel like I've gone in when I haven't known the history, and I feel like it's made my EVP questions real lackluster. And then if one of y'all inserts an EVP question for me because you know more, then I'm ruined.
Right. And then the last part of what we do is the report, like the reveal or whatever, which is actually almost more important than the investigation itself. Like the investigation is collecting the data and finding the things and the correlations and ruling stuff out, and all that's great. But what I see other groups, and this is how we different from other groups, because I'll see other groups just present everything in this like shotgun style as this is all the paranormal stuff that we caught, and it's every creak and groan and light and orb and bit of dust that's out there.
That's what I liked about like the original Ghost Hunters and like the way they do it now is on Ghost Adventures. I don't feel like they show them going over the evidence.
Right.
And I like I know it's just another ghost hunting show, but I like that they show them going over the stuff and showing the main guy and him going, oh, that's valid or that's not valid. Here's why it's not valid. Here's why it is valid. I feel like that adds something, but I also feel like it bores people.
It does. It ends up in
it's a stupid tightrope between valid and boring.
Well, and so the tightrope, it really sucks because once that picked up, it really went lopsided for a while because everybody just wanted to be entertained by, oh, this is the cool ghost
Which
thing.
I get.
And
you don't want to be bored watching TV.
Well, and it's also, okay, so why do we have TV shows and stuff like that at all? And the thing is if there is no interest in the thing that we are trying to research, then there's no support for doing it. You know, it really sucks that all these ghost groups are out here and a lot of them are like nuts and kind of haphazard. But you know what's great? The fact that there's more places to go investigate now because of it. The fact that it's popular enough that people are like, hey, I can make money renting out this property I own to some people and letting them have like exclusive access to it and things like that. It gives us an avenue for doing these things. It gives us an avenue for new equipment to be developed. I don't necessarily like all the equipment that's out there, but
I'm glad it's out there.
But like the EDI Plus device, that's specifically for ghost hunting, and it would not exist at all unless this was a popular thing.
So about a decade ago, I was real sick to my stomach all the time, and a doctor diagnosed me with celiac disease. Celiac disease is a disease where gluten makes you sick. So like wheat, rye, and barley products. Now there was this tightrope that people had to walk where legitimate people with celiac disease had a hard time finding food, but they gluten-free. They also got made fun of when it became more popular for people to eat gluten-free. But a side effect of it becoming a fad diet is that all of a sudden there's all these new products
that are gluten-free,
that you can eat. So you have to weigh it out. Do I want to be invalid but also have all these products, or do I want to be valid and have nothing to eat? And it's the same thing with ghost hunting.
It's the whole hipster knee-jerk reaction to everything. It's like, well, I discovered that thing, that's mine. D&D. I play D&D, and I know a ton of D&D nerds that are mad because D&D is mainstream. They're like, man, I was playing D&D when it used to get you beat up in high school. Yeah, now you can go to Walmart and buy a new D&D book when you lose your book, you nerd. That.
When I first started playing, you had to like go to a nerd store.
Yeah, you had to like do these like shady back alley deals. It was like buying heroin.
Hey, you got a Dungeon Master guide?
Hey, you got Tasha's cauldron of
or shoot,
items.
I played vampire. Like you got the specific Malkavian handbook by anyway, and now you just go to Wally World and pick up your nerd gear. But now everyone's a nerd.
Yeah, and everybody plays it wrong.
Oh my god! Okay, back on the topic.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. Is like, okay, now everybody has access to all this ghost hunting stuff, but now they're doing it wrong.
It's good because it gets more traction, and you have more stuff, more toys to play with, and people know what you're talking about.
And when you're out buying gear, you have to be real careful, like what you're buying, because there's a bunch of people that are just trying to cash in. Like there's people that are like, oh, I got 3 emails this week about this new REM pod thing that's coming out. It's like
that no word just makes me laugh.
REM pod. They're like, no more false positives, doesn't use an antenna, it's this special thing, blah 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 blah. Well, I don't know this could be just, I'm not saying that I'm the guy in the garage and I'm a legitimate engineer, but I don't know that the guy sending out random emails to me because he saw my paranormal group on some registry somewhere
he wants to make money, which it's valid. I get it, but it's hard to separate out the crap from the real.
Because look,
and what is real when you're hunting ghosts? What is a valid? Piece of
because we use these Rodave diodes for our germanium diodes for like recording or whatever. Somebody else made our first ones for me, and they never work. How do I know they did it right?
Yeah, how do you know it's instead of just not picking up ghost if it's just a piece of metal?
Yeah, like how do I know? Since we don't know what ghosts are or what the mechanic is, how do we know?
New genius idea. We create and market a ghost detector, and it's just a box with lights, but it's empty on the inside, so they never light up.
That basically sounds like the stupid ghost hunter apps on your phone.
Only those are programmed to catch things. This is just literally never going to light up because ghosts aren't real.
So yeah, that's how we differ from non-scientific investigations. Is our goal is to cross as many things off the list. While I think other groups, they're going in and they're trying to find more things to add to the list.
Like I said, we're not really ghost hunting. We're looking at everything around it.
And I don't like being called debunkers either. I mean, we do a lot of debunking. Don't get me wrong, but we're really just trying to separate the fact from the fiction. We really do want things to be left over
the
at
fact
the end.
from the anxiety-induced hallucinations.
Yeah. While I think other groups, what they're trying to do, their main goal is to go in and validate that there's something happening.
They're working backwards, scientific theory-wise.
Yeah.
There are ghosts. Here's how I prove why.
Yeah. And to be fair, we make a lot of jokes. We're not starting with the assumption that there are no ghosts, but we are starting with the assumption of there's no way to prove it with these certain things. So first we have to identify what could possibly be paranormal, and then we have to study that mechanic to find out if it has a logical explanation behind it. We got more comments?
Oh, Emilio was talking about my idea. It has to be empty inside so the ghost can fit inside to control the lights, take some more space to produce more evidence. Yes, that's how we shall market it.
Emilio markets faulty paranormal tools.
I would be.
You should not trust his group.
I would absolutely laugh my ass off if you had a box with lights and they did light up Stranger Things. Y'all got a good product there. How about a random chirper in the box? Yeah, perfect. That way they get a little feedback so people buy more. Ghost box lights spell out, we've been trying to reach you about your car's warranty. I got that call twice today, just by the by.
I started calling back like a lot of the spam calls or whatever when they pick up. I'm like, yeah, I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended. They'll just hang up on me. I'm like, why is it okay for you to do it, but I'm a D-bag?
Some groups being pinched is valid evidence. Prove it false, you bet you can't.
Being pinched valid. Well, see, that's a personal experience. So, and it's not that personal experience isn't evidence. It's not scientific evidence. Like
yeah, it's evidence. It's just not fact.
Yeah, it's not physical evidence. It's not objective. It's if you get pinched at the same time that we also caught an EVP and a door slammed and the temperature drop, all name whatever you want, but there's a bunch of correlation. Then yeah, I'll believe that.
That's
maybe
like orbs are bullshit unless I get you a video of an orb flying through the door and then the door slamming behind it.
Okay, so here's an example. When I was doing the tours of Building 9, what was that, last month? Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, whenever
time makes no sense now.
I know, freaking COVID time. But the lady was in the closet and she was trying to do EVPs and she's like, "Oh, something got my arm," and she had 3 scratches on her arm.
Of course she did.
And she's like, "Oh, it's a demon! It's and she got mad and was like, "I'm gonna leave a bad review. You didn't tell me there were demons in here." And I'm like, "Lady, was
she serious? Did she leave a bad review? Did not disclose demonic activity?"
I did the rest of the nights. I was like, look, people have been scratching her. But
only if it can be correlated to another. Yeah, that's exactly. If 2 things happen at once, to me, it has a lot more validity.
Yeah. So what I think happened is she was in there and there was like electrical stuff hanging in there, and there happened to be 3 prongs exactly. And she scratched her arm on it and she didn't want to listen. I said, "I think you scratched yourself on that." Did not want to listen to it, left us a bad review.
Can you delete stupid reviews?
No. What I think is funny is here's the irony of that.
I need to read that.
It's on Facebook somewhere.
What does it say?
It's just like they did not disclose that there was demonic activity there.
It's insane that you can get a bad review for not lying and saying there's demons in a place where we've never had anything like that happen.
What I find interesting is these people came to a ghost investigation. Something happened, and then they got mad about it. Then they were mad.
People get angry if nothing happens. They get angry if something happens. Stop it.
I don't know. We got a ton of good reviews for the Warehouse 9.
1 star. Demons didn't like me and scratched my arm because I was being a terrible human.
It's true. Well, she was calling it an FAG in the closet when it happened. So I was kind of okay with it being something attacking her.
See, that would have made me mad. I would have been mad.
She was like, "You don't want to answer me? Or are you a angry?" And I was like, "Hey," and then she's like, "Ow," and I was like,
how fucking dare her?
Yeah,
that's a slur. I would have been like, I'm offended.
Oh, everybody that was in the group that night was like, yeah, she sucks. Get out of here. Man, you weren't there for the drunk people. Oh, it was it was the worst. I think Kat was with me. It was terrible.
I'm so glad I had to work instead.
Oh, they were awful. They were interrupting the whole like spiel, like I was telling them about the building, and they're just like, nah, they left in like 1938 and I worked for the post office. Yeah, Kat was with me. That's because we were making fun of them all night. He was like, nah, bro. It's they used to mine mercury. I know, because I work for the post office. And we're like, what?
Yeah, Paramount Texas, it come with her. Yeah, it sounds like a person that would have a demon follow them around.
I think she was a demon. What experiments do we consider better evidence than what we see our peers currently doing in the field? And by peers, unfortunately, our peers are like Ghost Adventures.
Repeat that. I was reading a comment.
What experiments do we consider better evidence than what our peers are currently doing?
Mono wavelength photography.
Oh, you named the first one on my list. Yeah. So mono wave.
Billy drunks just randomly yelling 1958 is what Catherine says.
Yeah, it was bad. They had to take her outside, and then they just never came back. I think they were so embarrassed that they just left. Mono wavelength photography. So we hate orbs. We hate people that look.
Orbs give me rage.
Okay, I try to be super polite, but
No.
But this is our show, so I'm going to plead with you. Please don't send me any more orb photos. And if you see me at a live event,
do not bring me orb photos.
Don't show me your orb photos. I don't care.
Or your orb videos.
Now, maybe,
unless the orb is doing a dance.
Maybe there's something
like, with a cane and
maybe there's something to orbs, but you can't prove it with your picture. So we got that all the time. And then I got in that big argument with that other group at A.W. Perry about orb photos.
The verbal war of ghosting groups.
Yeah, and they were just, orbs are real, blah, blah, blah. It's energy. Yeah, he had the porn stash. It was awesome, which made it like way more scientific. And I was like, guys, it's reflected light. I'm like, are any of you guys professional photographers? And they're like, you're not. I'm like, no, but I at least know what I'm talking. I'm like, ask any photographer. This is you can't prove it.
See,
blah, blah,
now
blah.
we have a pet professional photographer.
Yeah.
So they're invalid.
And he also thought orbs were. And he's also got a mustache. And he was like, "No, orbs are stupid." And
I'm pretty sure he has a beard too.
Okay.
Y'all have rubbed off on me, and I find myself criticizing orb evidence. Amelia.
Good. You should absolutely criticize orb evidence unless it's done with
anytime
the
someone
right way.
hands you a photo of an orb, just smash their phone.
Mono wavelength photography for those who are uninitiated. It's a way we take still photos, and you can do it with video too, but you control the light source. So you have the only light source that's in the room that you're photographing or videoing, and you use colored light, either like red, blue, yellow, whatever. And we like to
more than one color.
Not at a time,
well,
but
no, but
you switch
like you
them
do
out.
red,
You do different
blue.
sweeps. You do get orbs back, but they're the same color as the light you're using, which shows that it's reflected light back to the camera. The idea is orbs are supposed to be balls of energy that you're taking a picture of. If that's true, it's producing its own light. It doesn't need reflected light. So if you're using a certain color in the light that you're providing and a ball of energy comes through the room, the ball of energy, as long as it's a different color than the type of, this is why you use multiple colors of light on sweeps.
Yeah, because it might be a red light.
Yeah. If you have a legitimate red orb and you're using a red light, then it looks like reflected light.
Yeah,
so that's why you switch it really fast.
Amelia says, I can't help myself now because people honestly sound stupid when they're like, so many orbs on Cam 12. Quick, go to that room. And
I catch so much flack at like our public events because people are, hey, look at this orb photo I caught. And I'm just like trying not to roll the eyes into the back of my head.
You can't, you have the worst just disbelief face of anyone I've ever met.
I don't know. I'm trying not to be a D when
You're
they're
failing.
doing that, but it's just
you're failing.
And I can't. The other thing is I'm trapped. I can't just walk away. Like I'm usually signing a book or something. They're like, "Hey, check out this orb photo," and I'm like, "Ugh."
And I also legitimately feel bad because they don't know the whole backstory.
Well, they're not professional
But
photographers.
I can't make myself care.
They're not professional photographers and they're not scientists. There's no reason they should know. But if you watch this show, you know better.
Be careful calling experiments evidence. It can be if enough baseline evidence has been generated and duplicated results.
Be careful calling experiments evidence.
Your face doesn't have an inside voice. Dude. Oh, yeah. Ashton's does not. Me screaming at my phone while watching. It's dust, nincompoop.
Be careful calling experiments evidence. It can be if enough baseline evidence has
Well, it's like that.
The wording of that is not falling on me.
The one pic with the mono wavelength photography of a green light shining.
Right.
The problem is it was one pic.
Yeah.
Out of 1,000.
A
we
real
couldn't
result.
duplicate it.
Yeah, a real result has to be replicated. And that's where people get with the paranormal thing backwards is you keep doing an experiment over and over and over.
You're not looking for the anomaly one time. You need the anomaly to happen.
Yeah, that's the real problem. Say we record a ghost doing something. Okay. Shit. Now we have to do that 4 or 5 times. Like that, we have to be able to reproduce those conditions and make the same thing happen over and over again. And that's the nature of paranormal, is that stuff is completely unreliable anyway. So it gets even harder. And that's where once you find the thing the 1 or 2 times, then you have to break it down and figure out how to make it more. There's another experiment in there. There's another step. But no, it doesn't matter. The problem with taking a regular picture of an orb, they could have captured a ball of energy with it, but there's no way to prove it with that
I'm not a scientist.
experiment. There's no way to prove it with that experiment. So you can't declare this as evidence. I mean, you could say this is an instance, but
like the word evidence, though, it is evidence. It's just lousy evidence.
right. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to define it down to something that's as close to irrefutable as possible. If I can refute it with a simple, well, that could also be, it could also be dust, but I promise it's an energy ball. That's not strong enough evidence.
Julie says, what if Ghosty doesn't want to cooperate? That's the other problem, is they're not trained dogs. If
Right,
there are,
yeah.
let's say there are ghosts, they're not listening. Amelia says, I try explaining how a mono wavelength photo would provide better evidence, but I might as well be explaining the meaning of the universe and the entanglement at the quantum level over the space-time continuum.
Emilio thinks he's better than everybody.
Ghosts
Emilio.
are notoriously camera shy, Elena says.
That is
Fact.
true. Except when we're doing it for we just get random stuff when we're not even trying. Okay, so
if you can reproduce it, it becomes not paranormal, though, right? Then it's just normal. If you produce it enough and can prove it scientifically, yeah.
and that's the goal. That's the goal of studying the paranormal using a scientific method.
Well, she got to the end of the show. That was it. Thanks for watching, folks.
What? Oh,
Sorry, evidence. Your proof. Is that what he's saying?
Evidence leads to proof.
Yeah.
Evidence is not proof. You need a body of evidence to support your proof. But yeah, it's
Next question.
I think they're typing really fast, and my brain's not translating because I'm also trying to think. Other experiments we do, sound isolation experiments. So everybody gets EVPs. So what we try to do is we try to get EVPs on isolated recorders because ghosts don't need certain things or whatever. So that's one thing we do is we will isolate certain recorders into like a soundproof box. We call it a sound coffin. We try to get things there. We also use Faraday cages around that so they can't be interfered with like RF signals. We do a lot of RF shielding on a lot of our equipment.
Well, now you have the RF detector, don't you?
Yes, that's something we started doing too. So like if we've got our like a device that lights up or something, we also have an RF frequency scanner that can detect if radio waves are actually interfering with that. So we can narrow other stuff out. We do I think we do more stuff with infrasound than I've seen any other group do. I know we definitely started kind of that trend, but
I think you give us more credit than we deserve.
Well, I don't think they're trending off of us. I know we were doing
just
it before,
early on the curve.
Yeah, I think we were doing it, and then other people kind of picked up on it.
So if a ghost reproduces the evidence, then does that make it normal? I think that's still paranormal. I don't know.
If a ghost reproduces the evidence, doesn't...
Is the sound coffin used to match up with other recordings? Yes.
Yeah, so everything we do is synced. All our video, all our audio, all of it is timestamped, synced up, so that we can see what everybody's doing at any point in time that a thing is happening. And that's part of like the whole investigation. But we'll have recorders that are isolated inside a box, recorders that are outside the box, recorders that we're all wearing, so that we can hear where sound's coming from. And the interesting thing with that is the one that's inside the box should have virtually no sound unless like you kick the... I mean, it's not 100% soundproof, but it's very, very soundproof.
If you like scream at the top of your lungs next to it, it's going to pick stuff up.
But it's really hard to do it. And so on the recorder that's outside of it, like the comparison recorder, you can hear us talking, and then you hear the silence, and then sometimes you'll hear EVPs in between. And in one scenario, we've done that whole thing, and you get like a few EVPs or whatever, which could be us talking, it could be outside, blah, blah, blah. But on the sound coffin one, there is absolutely no sound except that one EVP.
So does time ever go awry?
That's really hard to measure because...
Except for that one cemetery where things got very not synced. That's kind of...
Yeah. And to be fair, okay, so, when you're repeating experiments and things like that, you want to be able to repeat that. We weren't able to repeat it, so it could be equipment error. There's so much weird stuff that goes on there. Like, I don't want to get too far into that, but yeah, time has gone awry, but it could be attributed to poor equipment
That was also
management.
very early into us doing that stuff, so we probably messed up a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. The
issue with most groups is they don't have the budget to gather valid evidence. If you don't have cams for every square foot of location, then there's always a way to invite. Yeah, that is the biggest problem we have.
Yeah, it's in your field investigations, and that's why lab work is also super, super important.
But no one has got the time or money for that.
One of the ways we negate that is with frequency analysis of our EVPs, because the only ones we call valid... I mean, we've got a ton of EVPs, but the only ones we really consider valid or like presentable or really interesting are the ones that happen in areas where... do you stay time sync between... I'll answer. I guess we'll get back to that in a second. But the EVPs that are most interesting to us are the ones that have human speech in them, but they're outside what human vocal cords are known to be able to produce human speech in. And I say it that way very purposefully, known to be able to make human speech.
Because there are outliers.
There could be.
Also, if it's a valid answer to a question... That's why I always ask a control question, like, what year is it?
Yeah, that's
Where
the correlation thing. It's where you're correlating it with other data and all that.
If we play it for 5 different people and they all hear the same thing.
Yeah. Although we try to play it for like 100 different people. Like we play it for all those people at the live things, and they're like, oh yeah, that definitely says go back now. Like I've never heard anybody say it says anything else.
Oh, the Kyle one's the only one where I've always gotten the same answer for what it says.
Oh, see, I'm really sad you didn't get to do the last Warehouse 9 thing, because we had so many people there, and I played all the new stuff from Building 9, and they all heard exactly what you heard in the room. They couldn't get anybody to go serve food. They had to bring someone in that didn't know anything about it. Was like a new person. And then she was listening in on the last night, and I was like, yeah, we caught it in that room. She's like, I've been serving in there for 3 days. Oh my God.
And that one was so weird because I was standing there and you were like,
you said you felt breath, right?
And I felt like warmth on my ear.
But okay. I heard an interesting thing. today, and it totally makes sense. This is like something
After that, we need to answer the.
Okay, just remind me here in a second. There's a thing I heard today. They were doing a study where they put really good like 8D headphones on people, like the super surround sound, and you stick them in a room, and then they'll play these really like badass ASMR like things, and it'll be like they're in a barber shop. Well, they'll be in a barbershop, and when it gets to the part where they're like blow drying your hair,
yeah, you can feel it. That's the thing about ASMR is you can feel it.
People feel it.
Well, certain people. Apparently, some people are immune to it. I don't know.
Yeah, and they're not blowing anything on you. So I wonder if that voice you heard
hit that chord.
Yeah, like you're not actually feeling breath, but
it was in my ear. It just
there's a trigger.
The way it happened just freaked me out.
Oh yeah, I mean, why wouldn't it? We were in a dark room, like you could
very still.
Well, you couldn't see either.
Oh, you don't feel ASMR? I'm sorry.
The other thing people don't realize is like if we're in a completely dark room, like you're blind. Like I could see you through the thing, so it wouldn't be. You just look. What was that? You?
Okay, so do you stay time synced between record? I don't.
Yes. I think he's asking, do we set everything? Yes, we set everything to be synced. If you're asking what we were talking about, there's a specific investigation place that we've been on where we have spatial and time issues that we experience. Like it's not, at first it wasn't any kind of valid evidence because it's personal experience. And so we're like, this is a thing we experience, but we have no way to prove it. And then we did multiple investigations over a period of time. And then I went back to cut like a long video about like all 15 investigations. And I was reviewing stuff from years ago that I hadn't looked at in a long time. And when I started using new methods of like newer things that we have learned since the time we did that, I was resyncing the videos and putting everything together. And suddenly I was noticing these inconsistencies in it was mostly audio stuff. There were inconsistencies in timing. So everything would be synced together and like we would be having a conversation. On my body recorder, your body recorder, they're synced to the same thing. So is the video. I would ask a question. You could hear it on my recorder. You could also hear it on your recorder, and then back and forth. There would be instances where you would just randomly go, "What?" And I'd go, "I didn't say anything." On my recorder, the only thing you hear, which should record my voice louder
is
than
you going what? Is me going what?
Yeah, all you hear is what. On your recorder, you hear me ask a question. It's my voice, and you go, "What?" And I go, "I didn't say anything," and then it's blank. There are instances where not everything, there's missing data. It's so weird. And then there's also things where the time kind of stretches between different recorders. So like I said, all our video is synced up. So on my recorder, you leave and it takes you like a minute to do something, and you come back and you're like, okay, like I'm ready to go or whatever. On your recorder, a minute 30 seconds pass between the time
it's like
you
when
say.
I was in front of you and I felt like I'd only gone a few steps, and you were like, "Why are you so far ahead?" And I'm like, "I only walked 5 feet, dude."
Yeah. This specific instance.
Skinwalkers. Exactly, Catherine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
In this specific instance, you're like, "Hey, I'm going to go over to the tree. I'm going to go do some EVPs, and then I'll come back. Just wait here. I don't want anybody around me." And I say, "Okay." On my recorder, if you time it from the time I say okay to the time, you can hear you in the distance doing the EVPs and all that. And the time you come back, the time marker is at a certain point. From the time I say okay on your video recorder and you go do the experiment and you go over there and come back, the time marker is in a different place.
Emilio says that place sucks. You are correct, sir. But I'd really like to go back, like now.
It's so boring now.
We haven't been in a long time. It might not be boring anymore. Emilio said, could frequency be altered by bouncing off surfaces, maintaining same sound and cadence of speech of reflected at a non-human frequency? So if I'm talking, it bounces off that. Could that change it to where it sounds like?
Well, frequency is tied to decibel.
That's what you were saying, right?
Yes.
I'm guessing. Or amazeballs, depending on how you look at it, talking about Kyle.
Yeah.
And it's scary. I want to go back. Yes, exactly.
The
Y'all are on the ball
the
today.
frequency can change, but it's not going to dip it's not going to change to certain levels. It's going to depend on what kind of surface that it's bouncing off of. But what it's going to do is it's going to change its decibel level and its pitch first, and these are all measurable instances. There's a broader conversation to be had
Let's
there,
not have it.
and that's like a whole episode. I see where I like your thought process on that too, because that means you're thinking, which
Elena
is really
says
good.
to take her. We should take her.
Okay. You told me I can't take dates on paranormal investigations, and I also made the same rule.
You can take the date on paranormal investigations, but I'm going on your date with you.
That's fine. That was the compromise.
Then it's a date with both of us.
That's fine. It's fine.
Because I will get jealous if you take people to the woods without me.
Elena, this is specifically because of you, and I took you to Alton Bridge. And
Do whatever else you want.
I did not get yelled at for going on a date with you. I got yelled at for taking you to go find demons at Alton Bridge.
Without me.
I didn't I thought Alton Bridge was so boring you wouldn't care.
And she would have been fine if I went.
I'm sure.
You don't hate me, right, Elena? You want me to go, right?
I won't take anybody to Kyle without you.
Oh, God,
Absolutely
I would be
not.
so
I would
mad.
not. We haven't taken very many people
Alton
to Kyle.
Bridge is one thing, because screw that place. But
You
Kyle
know,
is
you know,
awesome.
Kat and James found Kyle. They went and looked it up,
Really?
even though we wouldn't give them the location.
I
and
would have
they
given
went.
him the location.
I do now anyway, but yeah.
Wouldn't it devolve as it bounces? It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it loses energy.
It doesn't have to be a date. Oh, it does. Sorry.
Ghost hunting is always a date.
It wasn't a date before. It is now.
Don't wear pants.
What?
What?
You should probably wear pants. It's in the middle of the woods, or at least a dress.
No, ghosts happen more often when you're not wearing pants.
Elena's funny.
Do we have any peers that we think have done good practical research in the field? I mean, because I don't want to say
We don't have any peers. We're the bet. I'm just kidding. We're trash.
I think Emilio does good research. I think he does good critical thinking. I wrote down Joe Nickel. Now, I think Joe Nickel is quite a bit of a curmudgeon, and he pisses a lot of people off. He's the one I'm the only professionally paid investigator.
Oh, God, I hate that guy.
He debunks but you know what, man? He is all about facts. I at least respect that. I think the dude is a little hardcore at calling people out on BS, because he's just like, that dude's a freaking idiot. Like, he's worse than we are on it, but the dude is all about the facts. I like Jason Hawes. He was on Ghost
I don't know
Adventure.
who any of these people are.
He's the bald one from Ghost Adventures. I think he hams it up I don't think he hams it up for the camera, but you know, he's doing a TV show, but I've seen some of the stuff he does on the background side of it. And I think he is legitimately invested, in doing good research. But I think he correlates his data more. Like, he's definitely not trying to be scientific about it. He definitely feels ghosts are a thing that exist, and he doesn't need to prove it. He's just trying to communicate with them. But I feel like he does quite a bit of debunking, which is really good. But the new guy, I'm like,
Catherine says I like David Bunches.
I've never heard that name. I need to look that up. David Bunches?
Did you mean to type that way, or do you need to retype that? Because I don't know.
The new guy I'm all over is Travis Taylor. I don't know who that is. It's the astrophysicist from The Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. I didn't know he was an astrophysicist.
Dragon. There was a guy on there. He was like the security, but his name was Dragon.
The Dragon. You need to go look up the Reddit on. You need to look up the Reddit on that. People,
You know he picked
hate
his
that
own
dude.
nickname.
You can so tell. I didn't know the dude was an astrophysicist, and I watched the rest of the series, and he does legitimate science.
Elena
out there.
says she's got to introduce y'all to her aunt. Okay.
Is your aunt alive?
Is it a ghost?
I feel
Is your aunt a ghost?
I feel really confused by that comment. See, when people are like, I need to introduce you to somebody, but it's in this context, I don't know if they're alive or dead at this point. I feel like her aunt is probably alive, but
Maybe.
I feel like it needs to be asked.
Or it's just a very solid ghost. She's been dead for 10 years. Audio attenuates so it weakens over time being bounced. Beware of Doppler transformations.
Right. So Doppler effect is...
Ooh, I know Doppler.
Oh, explain the Doppler effect. Please.
Absolutely not.
Please enamor me with the Doppler
Do it.
effect. Like sirens sound a certain way coming towards you than when they're going away from you. So sounds sound different when they're coming at you than they are
Coming
away
at me,
from
bro.
you. And what he's saying is, they attenuate from being bounced. But
Attenuate means weaken.
right. But what doesn't happen is a complete frequency change. It's a sloping drop when you're looking at it on an FFR meter. Did I say that right? Yeah, I think it's an FFR.
No, it's not
meter.
a ghost. My ghost hunting exorcist aunt. That's awesome. Yes, introduce us.
Exorcist.
That's a valid question with me. Okay, it is, especially with Elena.
You should probably ask what time period this is in too. Is this part of our linear timeline, or do we need to travel to an astral dimension first to meet this person?
I don't remember my past lives.
I don't even remember my password.
I don't remember an hour ago. She was on Ghost Adventures a couple of times. Oh my God, that's awesome.
Is it?
Yes. I don't care if I hate the show.
I would have more respect if she was punching Zach in the face during that episode. That would be great.
Maybe she does. You don't know.
What's been out of our cases? This was a good question somebody actually asked.
She's also a nun. Oh, well, now I'm scared.
What has been
That's
the most
scary.
predominant factor to consistently show up in our cases? Where
EVPs? Is that an answer?
No. Oh, okay, so they weren't asking what evidence do we capture the most. So in instances where we have cases and we either find instances of paranormal activity, what are the markers that we found that links them together? Because that's what we're trying to do.
People that have some sort of trauma. What?
Yeah, that's what I wrote down.
Doppler effect. She should wear her nun dress while ghost hunting. I feel seen. I love y'all. Thank you for accepting me as I am. If you weren't awesome, we wouldn't.
Oh, Amelia Garcia produced.
She's got opinions on Zach. Good.
Who doesn't? Who doesn't?
People who don't give a shit about ghost hunting shows.
I wrote down
Lame people.
Psychological and physiological markers and infrasound. So the two things we have found that are always present when there is something that we think could be paranormal or classified as like,
and if we're talking about residentials, it's pretty much always that some crap is going on in their personal life.
right. So either there's some kind of psychological stress that is happening, or there's also some physiological.
Oh yeah, they're sick.
Yeah.
She's also a wolf. No astral dimensions needed. My family is weird enough. Sounds like weird is good. We like weird.
This is going in such a weird direction.
And
I don't even know how to.
I don't understand furries.
Yeah. People have some kind of physical illness, like
Yeah.
parasomnias.
A lot of that. A lot of sleep paralysis just across the board.
Yeah, I've never met that's one of the more rare conditions on the planet, and we've met
It's
many
not that
of
rare.
them.
Sleep paralysis is super. Almost everyone will
Well,
experience
that's
sleep
what we're finding out.
paralysis.
So when we first started this,
Well, even in case studies, almost everyone at some point in their life experiences sleep paralysis.
but not chronically.
No.
chronically. It's rare that it's chronic.
I have chronic sleep paralysis.
I think when the last time I saw the stats, it's like 100% of people have experienced sleep paralysis, but it's like only 2% of society has it chronically.
Thinks that I'm one of the people that got that chronically.
You're in the 2%.
Being horrifying.
You're in Mensa and you're you have sleep.
I'm an idiot and I have sleep paralysis. So she doesn't wear a dress. She's a very specific secta Catholic. She smokes cigars and eats tomahawk steaks with whiskey. Oh my God, I love this person and I don't even know them.
This sounds like somebody that just woke up one day and went, I'm a nun.
Catherine says she's never experienced sleep paralysis, but
That you know of.
And it's more common in kids.
Yeah.
Julie asked, is it underdiagnosed? Very likely underdiagnosed. In fact, I'm 100% certain it's just rapidly underdiagnosed.
Yeah, and it's getting more the more pain prescriptions that go out, because that's a big trigger for it.
Well, and the other thing is, the first time I had sleep paralysis, I didn't even know what it was.
Right.
So how do you even tell your doctor? I was laying in bed and hallucinated. Like, it feels embarrassing.
Yeah, or I was laying in bed and aliens came in and dragged me off my,
Elena says she used to be has very bad sleep paralysis. See, I'll have it for I've been having a really bad bout of sleep paralysis lately. Like, it's been happening almost once a week, and then I'll go for months and not have an episode of sleep paralysis at all, and I'll be like, oh, it's done, I'll never have it again. And then sure enough, Emilio says diagnosed as night terror. Yeah, and they're very parasomnias kind of run together. Like, if you sleepwalk, you probably sleep talk. You probably have night terrors.
If you have sleep apnea, you probably also have narcolepsy.
Yeah, but not like I have narcolepsy, like I have narcolepsy because I don't breathe at night and therefore don't get good sleep.
No, but yeah, it all kind of crams it. Bad sleep is bad sleep. Like, if you have sleep paralysis, you're probably not getting great sleep. So you probably sleep at times you're not supposed to be sleeping, or taking micro naps, so you don't realize you're hallucinating during the day. Or not hallucinating, but you're dreaming during the day, because you're like, oh, I saw a ghost. No, you actually dozed off for 2 seconds and don't realize it. Well, and then something sits on my chest while I sleep. Yeah,
hagging is the most common thing that happens in sleep paralysis. You'll hallucinate like a woman sitting on your chest, and you'll wake up tired. And they used to think it was a demon sitting on your chest and draining the energy. That's also where succubuses come from.
The most interesting modern case I've heard of that, though, was really, really convincing to me. But it was with this polyamorous couple, right? It was a guy and his 2 girlfriends. Mm-hmm. And he used to suffer from really, really bad sleep paralysis. And he was chalking it he would see the devil, like Satan holding him down. He'd be black with red glowing eyes or whatever, and just be and he'd just wake up in terror, just sweat. And his
sleep paralysis.
Yeah, his girlfriends would be like, what's going on? He's like, this is what I'm seeing. And they're like, oh, it's sleep paralysis. And he'd be like, I understand it's a medical thing, but it's very scary, right?
Oh, God, even understanding doesn't.
Well, so there was a new girlfriend that didn't know about any of this introduced or whatever, and they're all laying there. And this isn't a dirty story, by the way, but they're all laying there at night sleeping, right? And he has one of those episodes. Mm-hmm. The new girl that didn't know anything about any of this stuff had no...
Oh, didn't she have the same dream?
She was having a dream that there was a black cat with red eyes sitting on that dude's chest, just staring at her and doing that thing. And she woke up just in pure terror. And he was having a sleep paralysis episode at the same time, but it was the full-on devil was holding him down. Woke up, she's screaming, he's screaming, and they're like, why are you screaming? What's going on? And she's like, I dreamed that there was a black cat sitting, on your chest and growling at me, and it was, and it synced up. It was really interesting.
Catherine says, are you dozed off and a ghost hacked your brain? Emilio says, night terrors equal sleep paralysis equal demonic possession equal exorcism equals #1 blockbuster. Okay, I said I stopped making it weird, but I wrote my sleep paralysis demon a note and said if they wanted to hang, that was fine, but stop paralyzing me and being scary. And then it stopped, and it hasn't happened for over a year. My worst sleep paralysis happened. I was laying in my bed, flat on my back during the day, and people say it happens more when you lay flat on your back, but I actually have it more sleeping on my side. But this time I happened to be laying on my back with my head towards, the window in the but closest to my lamp in my room.
Yeah.
So it's in the
middle. With the hideous Cowboys blanket over it.
Well, now it's a blackout curtain. Right. So that window used to not have a curtain over it. So the sun's streaming into my head's facing that way. And my sleep paralysis demon is a shadow guy. No hat, just a dude. but he's standing next to the window and he like leans on the wall with his arms and then he crawls up the wall, across the ceiling, and then drops on me from the ceiling. It was the worst.
It sounds awesome when it's not happening to you. It sounds like the best movie ever.
It was woof.
Yeah, that is the biggest marker between all these cases, because almost everything we're able to rule out with that. Like the thing, I think what bothers me about other groups is everywhere they go,
there's a ghost.
There's a ghost. It's paranormal. Like they never rule anything out. Most of the places and everybody be like, well, if you just rule everything out, then you're not playing fair or whatever. But the thing is
But are they the ones not playing the fair, actually?
We still end up with things that can't be explained.
Evidence.
It's just, we're talking about a very narrow sector of whatever, everybody would say the sleep paralysis is part of that, where we kind of use it as an indication, we rule that out, and then we look for other things that can be recorded. Like, okay, let's record them sleeping. And then if there's like a shadow in the room at the same time that they're seeing a shadow, that's different. Like, that's not happening because it's in your head. That's a real thing.
You talked for a while, or I did, about recording one of my sleep paralysis episodes, but I can't imagine what I would do
if you saw something
if
in
I
it.
saw something.
You remember the advice I used to give people? Be like, how do I...
don't ghost hunt your own house.
Don't, unless you're comfortable.
But that was the first place I did, was my own house. But
yeah.
I mean, because the sleep paralysis thing is so terrifying, even though medically I understand what's happening, that if there's even a shred of anything, I would never sleep again.
Yeah. It would just, I understand. That would be fucking terrifying. The other thing that we find across both, maybe the false positive cases and the positive cases, is what we were talking about before, is high saturations of just infrasound bombardment.
And it's everywhere.
It is. And then there's places where it's like even more concentrated, or it's like funneled, like through the AC, like you were talking. And that's what we found at that one place.
If you're near train tracks, stuff like that.
Yeah.
A highway.
And so, like, what I really want to answer is, does infrasound, like that experiment she was doing with the photons, does infrasound increase
ghosts, or does it make you hallucinate ghosts?
Right.
Or both?
I think it does. I think the problem is it does both. And so what is the next experiment to find the correlation between that data?
Sleeping with your eyes open would be a part of that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's technically sleep paralysis.
Except you're not asleep.
Sleeping with your eyes open?
When I have sleep paralysis, I'm not really asleep. I'm like...
You're in that halfway kind of, like your brain has switched to sleep mode, but your body hasn't.
And I'm aware. If I wasn't aware, that'd be fine. But I'm aware of what's happening. And my brain goes, unlike a dream where when something wild happens, you just kind of roll with it. When I'm having sleep paralysis, I understand that it's incongruent and wrong.
Here's one that I definitely know I'm going to get asked in Tyler, because we get asked everywhere. What do you think it is?
What's your scariest location?
No. What's the number 2 thing they always ask?
Can I join the ghost hunt group?
No. What is the most convincing supernatural evidence you've seen another group capture?
Oh, see, well, I've never heard that question, so my 2 are right. Yours are wrong.
Okay.
None. I trust no one.
There's nothing you've seen that is more convincing than other at all?
It's all bullshit.
Nothing? All of it?
Anything anyone who has done that's not me is correct.
Okay. I mean, it's fair. Well, I mean, on a scientific level, you definitely shouldn't trust anybody. And that goes for our evidence, too. Like
the video that ghost hunters did in the lighthouse, I guess. Emilio says #hurt. sorry, bro.
Oh, yeah.
He's actually in the only group that if they brought me something, I wouldn't immediately be like, it's a lie.
I trust Emilio. I don't trust Carlos. He's pretty squirrely.
I don't trust you.
I feel like Carlos would try to trick Emilio, who would then show it to me unknowingly and be like, this is definitely a ghost. And it's just Carlos, like, because he's that kind of guy.
Lucidity and sleep paralysis is different than lucidity and lucid dreaming. Fun fact, I've done both. I'm always lucid when I have sleep paralysis.
I used to practice lucid dreaming for a while, and it worked for a long time, and then stopped for absolutely no reason.
I like lucid dreams.
I like that. I like that lighthouse evidence where you see the person leaning over.
Yeah.
But in the new Ghost Hunter show,
Yeah, they did. I saw them debunk it, but
they went back. They took a picture, and it could clearly be somebody leaning over.
Julie's seen that episode. She says it rocks.
Yeah, it is pretty good. I would hate investigating in there because it's just
the stairs. It's just a tunnel of stairs.
Yeah,
oh my
yeah.
God, yes, everyone but me is crap. Yes. It's just because I know I didn't fake it.
Yeah. There's that level
But
of no.
they have the same amount of trust for me. I mean, it's...
Well, and I tell people don't trust. I mean, you can if you want. That's your
That'd be
choice.
stupid.
But don't trust what we feed you just based on what we say. Like, that's why when we post our stuff up, we also post all our raw footage, all of our raw audio, like everything that's there. Like, you can pour through it.
Another group could do that, and I'm so lazy, I'd just be like, I'm just going to assume it's crap.
It's true. I mean,
I'm a monster.
How do you legitimize? That's
Turns
a good
out
question.
I'm just a totally trash human.
It's how do you legitimize something like that? The one for me is actually a Ghost Adventures one, but it's a very, very early one. It's a very early one.
Damn, you gonna hit me with that just out here all of a sudden, Ashton. Okay. Elena says. Oh, I used to lucid dream. I can't lucid dream. My dream self just thinks everything is normal. Even when a man changes into a tiger, I'm like, yep, that's thing. See, when I was a kid, I had horrible nightmares. So I trained myself to like bite my lip every 15 minutes. And that transferred into dreaming. So when I do it and didn't feel pain, I know I was...
Yeah. It's one of the triggers. There's like you get in the habit of doing these checks every time like you wake up or something. So that like when you go through the checklist, you know, like trying to remember where you came, the room you came from before you got in this, blah, 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 blah. And that's how you identify you're in a dream, first off. I used to keep like a journal or whatever.
Lame. With evidence in this field, it's really hard to believe with the skeptical mind unless you're actually there. It really is.
Yeah. Oh no, straight up. Most convincing evidence, and it could be faked. This is assuming
it's absolutely faked.
It's assuming it's not fake. But there's this really good footage that Ghost Adventures got like really early on, like when it was just the three of, like they didn't have the other camera guys. There's like these disembodied voices that they catch, but they actually show it from all three camera points of view, and they go through all the recorders to show the voices are captured, but then they show where they're at and what they're doing at the time. It might have been at Prevalia. I'm not sure.
We need to wrap up pretty soon.
Oh, okay. But
in like 5 minutes.
I like the disembodied voices thing. If we had an unlimited budget, what would be the ultimate experiment that you would want to?
I just want a lab. I want the house where I get to take the group of people through and lie to them.
Yeah, I said on an unlimited budget, we'd Faraday an entire building.
Oh, fair gauge.
We would do fMRIs, 24-hour surveillance, and pure sound isolation experiments. And then what piece of our evidence that sticks out in your mind that kind of swayed your opinion one way or the other, either way? Because like we all came into this kind of having thoughts on what we thought or whatever. Is there any...
I always have the same answer to this, and it doesn't sway my opinion, but the stuff we've gotten from Kyle throws me.
Right. It puts a monkey wrench in it.
The one EVP that everybody gets the same thing on, and the when we got charged, and then the voices after that.
Yeah. I just... Being there is so much different than just seeing it like on TV and something happening. But yeah, it really is. It's the... And even though,
is that yours or what's yours?
Yeah, kind of the same. I don't know. It'd probably be the jail. Actually feeling something like grab my hand, but the
wind.
The feeling of that is fading. Like the further I get from an experience, the more it just kind of goes away on its own.
Build a chamber a mile underground and make it haunted. Methods won't be disclosed. Murder. The method is murder.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
No. Because murderers are cool. Brad Rogers. Okay, so that is our show.
Do we know when our next episode is going to be?
2 weeks.
It's money pit terminology.
2 weeks.
Do we know what it's going to be on?
No, I have absolutely no clue.
We're winging it.
We'll figure it out between now and then. Maybe it'll be paranormal. Maybe it'll be true crime. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Maybe we should have Elena come in, talk to us about a astral projection.
She was supposed to be on a podcast at some point, wasn't she?
Yeah. I don't know.
But things got wild.
We can talk with Elena offline and figure out when she does want to come in, because we can do she can Skype in sort of thing now too. Unless you want to come to my house, but I don't know. So 2 weeks, and then on the 17th I'll be doing a presentation at Tyler, and we will be
without me
and doing.
Don't say we.
We will be running a public investigation of a location, and I'll be an MC.
Not we, because I won't be there.
It'll be a thing. It'll be awesome. And hopefully we have more content coming out soon.
Hopefully. Maybe not.
Any other final thoughts?
Thanks for watching.
All right. Thanks to everybody who participated. Hope we got to everybody's questions.
Not what asked a question.
Whatever.
Just making up questions. There's not actually anyone talking to you at all.
Just everybody's comments in general. Yeah, so, Kat's going. She bought VIP tickets. You know who
I'm not going, so I don't care.
The VIP tickets come with a celebrity dinner. Guess who the celebrity is?
Who?
Me.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, you're not a celebrity.
I know. I'm with all the other Actually,
they're so low bar that they think you're a celebrity.
There's actually the Bigfoot hunter dude that's on the History Channel. He's going to be there.
Oh, wow.
It's a big time.
You're in the same category as those people.
Is History Channel guy?
Oh, wow.
I think his name's Jeff Gerhardt. He's actually pretty
I don't care because
awesome.
I'm not going to be there.
Whatever.
My feelings are hurt.
Okay, so anyway, that's our show. We've got stuff coming up. Keep an eye on the website.
Thanks for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Celebrity, barely.
It's awesome. So we'll see you guys in a couple of weeks, and have a safe weekend.